What's up, everybody? So we're back on the shop with another Shop Talk Tuesday, and in this episode we are going to be working on the ulu. Now, of course, you've already seen the thumbnail, so you understand that we're working on this and not the kukri with the dragon scales on the spine. Now, I am still working on that, and that video will come out next Tuesday, but I wanted to see what this looked like with it being made out of Damascus and really see what it, like how the layers work. Now, of course, y'all have seen the thumbnail. I haven't yet because it's still in this form. So hopefully it looks really cool. That's the goal. But what I want to show y'all is actually how well I forged it. Now, of course, it's a simple profile, nothing too crazy, but when it comes to how symmetrical it is, I drew it on a piece of paper, just basically traced the outside of it, took and figured out the center, folded it over, put it against the light, and the only part that didn't trace over itself is this little bitty corner. The whole entire profile, all the way around, actually traced right on top of the line, all except for this little bitty corner. So the sides, the top, and the bottom are all perfectly symmetrical. It's just the little bitty corner that was a little off. I'm pretty happy about that. That's pretty cool. Being able to make sure everything is even is really awesome. We did, of course, forge in the bevel all the way down. Now, I didn't go all the way down to a really fine edge because I do want to grind away some of the layers so that you actually get a really cool effect. We're going to see how that turns out. Now, I am going to grind from both sides. It is going to have a slight possible chisel grind. I haven't decided whether I'm going to do a full chisel grind, kind of like to where it just slopes to one side, because I found out that some ulus are actually made that way if it's more traditional or something like that. So we're going to see if I end up going that direction or if I just go even on both sides. I haven't really decided yet, but as we grind it, we'll figure that out. But I wanted to see what it looked like, and all we got to do now is go ahead, clean up the profile, and then figure out where I'm going to drill holes to be able to attach the handle, which is going to be a piece of caribou antler. I don't have that yet. That's going to be coming from one of y'all, a subscriber. So that's going to be pretty cool. It'll have a piece of caribou antler as the handle, and I think it's going to turn out pretty awesome. But we need to go ahead, start working on this, and get this thing knocked out. I've only got a couple of days to go through all the profiling, the heat treat process, grain refinement, quenching, all that stuff, tempering, so that I can get it to look like what you see in the thumbnail. So let's go ahead, let's jump into this, let's get this thing knocked out. So we're just going to go through and remove the little bit of excess. I did change the profile up just a little bit because I think it's going to be better looking like this. We're just using a 120 grit belt. It's plenty aggressive enough to be able to clean up everything we're about to clean up. But we're going to clean up the profile. That way we can figure out where our pinholes are going to go. So now that we have it ground to profile, we need to go ahead and figure out where the pinholes are going to be. I'm thinking we're probably going to go about 1/2 inch into the blade. So about right there. Just do a nice little 1/2 inch, and then probably do about 1/2 inch again from the side. So 1/2 inch from the top, 1/2 inch from the side. We'll punch holes right there, or at least center punch that, and then drill holes instead of punching holes. And that should be good. So we'll get the holes drilled, and then we'll go ahead and start grinding our bevels into here. So what we're going to end up doing on here is just some preheat treat grinding. We're going to do a flat side and then a beveled side. It's going to be kind of a chisel grind. So we're going to have a flat side here, and then I'm probably going to end up going to more of a convex grind on the bevel side. So we'll go ahead and start grinding that in. I'm basically going to come in here and I'm just going to grind it like this instead of grinding it like this. Now I might end up turning it this way or something. Don't know just yet. I just know that this is going to be nice and flat. It's going to be nice and easy to make sure that that side is nice and flat. So that's the way I'm going to try it out. Again, we're still just using a 120 grit belt. So now we need to grind in the chisel grind. Now this is going to be kind of a chisel slash convex grind. The back side, I only removed enough to, of course, make it flat. But now I need to get pretty aggressive and bring it down. I'm probably going to go to about the thickness of a dime before heat treat. But I'm going to get pretty aggressive with this side and grind away a decent amount, and then we'll go from there. So once the forge is warmed up, we'll go ahead and do our normalizing cycle, which is just bringing the blade up to 1600 degrees and then letting it cool outside the forge. And then we'll do some grain refinement cycles. Do a 1500 and then a 1400 where we bring it up to 1500, let it cool outside the forge, bring it up to 1400, let it cool outside the forge. But because this is wider than the floor of my forge, it'll be going up at an angle and heating up that way. You know, that way we can get a nice heat on it. And I think it'll work out pretty well, but we're going to go ahead and do our normalizing and grain refinement cycles, and then we'll heat it up to about 1500 degrees and quench it in peanut oil. So we have our 65 HRC file. We're skating. So now what I want to do is temper it at 300 degrees for 2 hours times 2. And then I'll test it with the file again and see if I like that. I'll probably test it after the first temper. And then if I like where it's at, which should be about 61, 62 HRC, a 60 should still completely skate. So if we're at that after the temper, then I'm going to do that again, and we should be good. So now that we have it heat treated, we can go ahead and start putting our finish on it. Now, what I'm going to be doing is, again, going back in this way on the flat side, and then whenever I'm working on the other side, I'm going to be on the top of the belt. And that way I can go ahead and finish getting that convex to this face here, and then this side is just going to be on the platen where it's flat. I'm just using a little magnet to help me out, just like I was doing before. We'll start with the flat side, get that cleaned up, and then go ahead and go to the other side. So I'm using the top belt, or the top of this belt, to really get this nice and convexed as we go. So we're just using different sections of it. It's a little bit tighter up here, a little bit looser towards the center, and tighter down here. So it really depends on which angle I'm trying to get, or how much curve I'm trying to get onto this as I go to these different sections to be able to hit all the different areas on this grind. You can see right there the reflection, how it actually rounds off to the edge. That's what we're going for right now. And I am letting it touch up here a little bit because we're going to have little bits of that Damascus show through whenever we etch it. So now we're going to go ahead and get it test etched. Now, of course, I've got more work that I'm going to end up doing to this later on, but I want to give y'all an idea of what it's going to look like. I'm still going to be hand sanding it later, but we'll save that for a later date. We're going to go ahead, let this etch for about 5 minutes, and then I'll take it out, clean it, and then let it etch again, and that'll give us a good idea of what it's going to look like pattern-wise. It's already showing a really cool pattern, but I'm going to let it etch a little bit, and then we'll go from there. So we're going to clean it once, which it's already starting to look pretty cool. We're going to clean it once, and then we'll go ahead and go back in there. I am going to go rinse it off with water, and then we're going to go back into the acid for about another 5 minutes. Alright guys, let's go ahead and wrap this one up right here with some close-ups. Now of course, this is the flat side. It looks really cool. Both sides have their own pattern, which is one of those things that I really like about doing it this way. But the pattern's kind of all over the place, all the way down to the edge, and I do like the fact that you can see the pattern even through the forged area there. Now, my favorite part is this side. So this side actually has a really cool pattern on it that follows the curve of the blade. It's almost like a seashell, and how it has the layers go all the way and follow that curve, plus all the way up in here. I think that that looks really cool. I like the fact that the patterns are really different on there. And I think this is going to be a really cool ulu. Now, of course, whenever I looked it up, some of them, people were saying, yeah, they are chisel ground. Some of them say they're double beveled. I went ahead and did a chisel grind with a flat and a convex, as opposed to basically a flat and then a bevel. So that was my personal preference on it, and I think it's going to be really cool. This is pretty much a zero edge right now. I could easily cut stuff with it as it sits, and I still haven't hand sanded it. All we did was a 120 grit belt, a 320 grit belt, and then the Scotch-Brite belt. That's it. That's the finish that we were able to get purely off of those belts. Could I leave it how it is? Sure. But I'm probably going to go ahead and hand sand it. I do want to hand sand the edges so that the layers that are there, let's see if I can get this to focus here. You can't even really see it that much, but there are a ton of layers to this, and I do want those to stand out. So I might go ahead and hand sand it and then end up doing the etching all over again and etch it pretty deep. I'm going to see how that goes. But for right now, you can see what the pattern looks like, which was the goal for this episode. Now, of course, next week, we'll be back on the kukri with the dragon scales on the spine and all that stuff. But for now, I want y'all to let me know in the comment section what y'all think about how that ulu turned out. Do you think it's really cool? If you do, let me know. Of course, give the video a thumbs up. But with that being said, I hope y'all have an amazing week. Y'all stay safe out there, and I'll catch y'all next time.